About that time, man. It's about that time. Well, good evening. It's Friday night. It is the 21st day of January of the year 2022. Welcome. I'm glad you're here spending your Friday evenings with us. And if you're watching this at a later time, thank you for taking a moment out of your day or evening to watch the New Norm 2.0. I'm your boy, Mo Delgado. I'm the host, and my co-host should be coming on pretty soon. But thank you for spending your precious time with us. Hopefully, we can inform you of some things that you may have known, may have not known, enlighten you with some perspectives that you may not have been aware of, and at the same point in time, entertain you. Because the pandemic has caused a major strain on most of us. Our time frame here on the planet is constantly being questioned with all these different factors that seem to be causing us all kinds of issues, health wise, psychologically, economically, and what have you. So it's extremely important that we take our time and always say thank you and appreciation to anyone who spends their time with you like you are spending your time with us. So thank you so much. And I hope that you consider some of the things that we talk about. So welcome to the show. Again, I'm your boy Mo Delgado. As I'd like to say, I am the sexiest man in this chair right now. That's it. Point blank. There's no contest. There is no debate. I am. So, with that being said, now that we're moving that along, let's talk a little bit about things that are going on right now, point in time. COVID-19 numbers seem to be looking, at least we're optimistic in how it's looking. Recent studies, CNN, World Financial News, BBC, all these discussions having to do with COVID-19 and Omicron, reports that CDC and the World Health Organization suggesting that we may be hitting that corner, that very important corner here in the United States. Other nations like China, where this COVID-19 is alleged to have come from, are facing a point where they may be close to eradicating this, or at least getting it to the point where it's no longer an issue. There's no new cases in China. There's cases of deaths, unfortunately, but there's no new cases, which is something to look forward to. In the United States here, we're still ranging in large amounts of people. And just in New York City, outside of New York, in the region of, I want to say, could be wrong, but Sussex County? Is it Sussex? There's a specific area in New York, the state of New York, that has had the greatest rise in 1 day totals of people with COVID 19. And this was not long ago. This was, I want to say, about 3 weeks ago. That was somewhat nearly 1,200 for 1 day cases. And it's suspected that these cases are a direct result of some of the interactions that people have had on New Year's Eve, interactions they've had on their way to and from wherever they were on New Year's Eve, whether they've taken flight or taken cruises or what have you, or just went driving someplace and spent some time there and then came back. So that portion of New York, and hopefully sometime tonight, I'll get the exact location of that area. But if you go to the CDC, it talks about specific areas of concern. And we're just speculating why these areas may be of high concern. Because ultimately, we have to be really conscious of why Omicron has seemed to be the most aggressive variant. But at the same point in time, the fact that it's just a variant doesn't discount the fact that it's still a virus, and this virus is highly contagious, pandemic, and we have to be very conscious of how it impacts everyone and every person outside of that, every person that you love, every person that you care about, even the people that you don't care about. It can affect you. So the high concerns that the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, is saying that now with the way the variant is, Omicron, people's immune system are reacting really well with the boosters, and they're suggesting that it is because the boosters that hospitalization numbers are starting to decline. It's because of the boosters that the amount of deaths or the potential deaths with respects to people who had recently got COVID. So, in essence, that's whoever catches COVID, who ends up succumbing to COVID and potentially dying, those numbers are falling, which is a really good perspective to look at. However, the craziest shit is also being discussed right now on the national science table. Hamsters. China is reporting that hamsters are catching the Delta variant of coronavirus. Delta in hamsters. They said chinchillas, rats, hamsters, who are considered pets, I'm not going to say food, but pets in those countries, have contracted the Delta variant of COVID or SARS-CoV-19. So, any of you guys out there who like to kiss your hamsters, be cautious. Any of you guys involved in any kind of freaky activity with animals, be cautious. This shit is starting to spread out into our pets. So we have to be very cautious in our crazy behaviors or our intimate interactions with these things that we love. So be careful. Another important factor that seems to be surrounding COVID 19 is the impacts it has on children. Did you know that California is suggesting now legislation to support the idea that children 12 years or older will no longer need parental authority or parental support for them to be vaccinated? These kids 12 years old can go in any location where they are vaccinating people and get vaccinated. I don't know. I think I have a problem with that because anyone puncturing anything into my child, you're stepping into the area of no return. It's something you just don't do. But this is California. California has also been identified at one point in time having the largest amount of people with COVID 19. And some say because of the amount of flights that were coming from abroad, meaning the other side of the pond, per se, coming from Asia, coming from Australia, coming from Upper Russia, Those regions of the world who have been affected by COVID 19 are coming back from the flights on these individuals who are coming back from these different locations with COVID 19. So, as time goes on, we're paying attention to how California legislation goes through, because when you see how COVID is affecting our children, it's a big concern. And now that vaccines are becoming available to our youth, it is of great concern that we continue to pay attention even more so of its impacts, and also the vaccine and how it impacts our children. We're still in I would say, the infant stages of this vaccine. We don't know the long term effects of this vaccine. We don't know how it impacts or infects people's health who may have already have immune deficiencies. We don't know how these things intermingle with other things. So we're still somewhat in a testing phase. So I'm uh, I'm hopeful, but I'm also, I would say, a conspiracy theorist, because all this shit right here we've seen in different films, and it said that when it comes to the government or the world power, they have a tendency of spoon feeding you small little nuggets of fears, small little nuggets of potential harm that can come to masses through media. And we've seen this in different movies. The nonsense, I ain't gonna say the nonsense. Well, the 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 mania with zombies, all those things came about some years ago, and it was pushed onto the public, and that public has responded and reads it, looks it, and if you didn't consider these things to be um, very impactful, go to a gun shop and try to purchase yourself a gun, and you'll see, and then ask them how many guns do they think they've sold in the past year. All reports suggest that it seems to be um, more Caucasian Americans have gone out to purchase weapons during the time of pandemic more than ever before, and more than people of color. However, that same report suggests that more people of color have also gone to buy um, guns or weapons um, at local gun shops and what have you. So the mania of zombie mania and the fear of these things exists amongst all of us, and it takes a mountain full of therapy or I would say support coming from the government and the world itself and all those in power to try to ease the worries and woes of the population. Um, Only thing I'm going to say, I'm hopeful, but keep your eye out on the way things are going. And for all of you who are survivors of COVID 19, pay attention to your health. Anyone who survived COVID 19 without a vaccine, God bless you. I really appreciate how your immune system works. I'm envious. But anyone who's gone and been vaccinated and defending themselves and still caught COVID 19, please pay attention to how your body is and how it continues going. Any small signs that makes you feel different, you see something going different, you're growing a different second thumb on one hand, you're starting to glow in the dark, your teeth are turning inward, and fangs are coming out, whatever crazy things could be happening, take note of it, please, because as we still go on forward, there's a lot of stuff within this vaccine and surrounding SARS that we're going to be reading about, hopefully, in generations to come about what have happened, and hopefully it won't be horror stories. All right, so COVID 19 is still serious. This shit about hamsters is some weird stuff, man. It's weird. But again, California is suggesting legislation to support the idea that children 12 years or older can, without parental consent, go into any facility to be vaccinated. And now, with the some of the restrictions that may have gone, however, um, more specific, the restriction that was blocked by the Supreme Court justice, by the president and his office, his administration, suggesting that everyone with employees or with 100 employees or more should be mandated to vaccinate. Everyone should be vaccinated. Supreme Court judge said, "Oh, pump your brakes, Uncle Joe. That ain't happening." And they prevented that legislation to go on. Supreme Court justice says it is not legal for you to mandate. However, for the protection of those who are ill, infirmed, or needing assistance, medical assistance, it is still required for hospitals and medical facilities medically oriented facilities to still be vaccinated, mandated to vaccinate their employees. Um, but raises that question again, still continuously, with such a large portion of American nursing, nurses and doctors have chosen not to be vaccinated and adamant to suggest that they won't be vaccinated. Why is that? What is their concern? Do they have valid concern, or is it just hyperbole? Is it just natural fear? Is it just something that just they're counterintuitive? Whatever it is, I think it's a dialogue that needs to be had and exposed to the general public so most of us can be involved in that same discussion. We need to be more comfortable in what we're doing moving forward and how we're doing moving forward, because it's extremely important that all of us become more comfortable as we move forward. If vaccination is the key to help eradicating SARS-CoV-19, I want everyone to feel comfortable when they do this vaccination, when they get vaccinated. I want everyone to feel comfortable that this vaccination won't harm them. I want everyone to feel comfortable that everyone should push forward and get this vaccination and help one another to feel comfortable in being vaccinated. And then, most importantly, be very considerate of the Americans who, because of health concerns or because of religious concerns, can't be vaccinated, for them to be made to feel just as equal as those of us who are vaccinated. Treat them no different. Have compassion and empathy about their situation. Be very sympathetic of what potential harms they can have. Don't ostracize them. Don't make them feel like any kind of monsters they're not. Human beings should always question everything before just leaping in. The herd mentality, the herd process, is something that's not helpful, and it hasn't been helpful to anybody in this planet. I don't know anything in history that suggests the herd mentality is good. It's something that people in power or people who are wanting to have overall influence desire to have to make it easier for them. I'm not one to support it. So, moving forward, don't be a herd. Do what you got to do. Get information. Learn what you need to learn. And then if you feel comfortable, be vaccinated. Get vaccinated. Vaccinations are still available all over. Everywhere your local hospital, local medical center, even the pharmacies, the community pharmacies like a Walgreens or a CVS, or in some places still Rite Aid, or whatever pharmacy or pharmaceutical agency that sits in Walmart can afford you this vaccine. And at this point in time, still free to all Americans. The insurance companies are being reimbursed. The companies who are um, the originators, the creators, the companies like Pfizer, Moderna, who made these, they're getting compensated for their creation. So don't fret, don't worry. It's not about an economic situation. Whatever hardships that you may have, it's not a barrier for you to be vaccinated if you need to be vaccinated. Be conscious, please, and pay attention as we move forward. Now, that's COVID and SARS-19. Here's another thing that we have to be concerned right at the point in time. I want to bring a little, um, I would say, awareness for those of us who may not be fully aware. Um, the island of Tonga out in the South Pacific recently experienced a underwater volcano eruption. And this volcano eruption created ash that has a downspurt, and there's ash on over 50% of the island covered. The island itself and the surrounding area, I think it's a 100-mile perimeter islands, and there's millions of islands in the South Pacific and Polynesia, and the I want to say Polynesia and Micronesia, those that region of the world. Many islands had suffered uh, experiencing a tsunami. Um, Nothing at the level that we saw in the Maldives some years ago, but enough to cause enough havoc and loss of life. The island of Tonga has suffered greatly, because not only is it an ostracized nation, or just a nation with very few resources and depending heavily on tourism, it's still uh, a indigenous region of the world where they self govern, and it makes it real hard. So soon you will see um, Red Cross efforts, world agencies looking to help people from Tonga and Polynesia and the regions outside of the area, the Great Tonga area. Do what you can to help out, folks, because it's extremely necessary that we continue to share the love and support for all our human beings on this planet. Because one impact in one region of the world trickles and can affect the entire planet at any time. And if anybody who's ever paid attention to history and folklore, especially geographical or geological history, when they talk about volcanoes, they said that this volcano and the amount of eruption and the duration of time that erupted hasn't been seen in a century or so. So, as we know, everything is cyclical. This is one volcano eruption. And anyone who knows geology, I want to see if I can put the hurricane or the volcanoes. Um, I want you to see the chain, if I can get it right. Um, U.S. Geological Survey. It's a good resource for people who are interested in trying to find information about volcanoes. Let me see if I can pull it up. Uh, but it's extremely important for us to pay attention that the Ring of Fire, that's what it's known. Many are located around the Pacific Rim is known as the Ring of Fire. There's a range called the Cascade Range in Alaska, the Aleutian volcanic chain, which goes all the way down to South America and lower. Um, Let me see if I can get multimedia. Um, I just want to show you something. Um, I want you to pay attention to the way the Earth is. I want to see if I can get some information dealing with time. Okay. All right. USGS seems to be giving information. They want to sell stuff anyway. Um, Volcanoes. I'm gonna have to hit Google one more time. Let me see if we can get it. But we will see, folks. If you're checking in right now, I don't know why I see no one seems to be logged in on Facebook. Why am I not seeing anyone in Facebook? Okay, I don't know. However, I'm gonna show you a little something to think about. Okay, I'm not having the best feedback right now. It seems to be taking time. If there's anyone on Facebook right now who is watching, can you let me know that you're on? Because it seems as if either Facebook is blocking me. I don't know. Let's see if I can hit people up. Anyway, um, as we're moving, I'm still trying to get this information wise, but I'm going to get something that makes it a little easier so people can actually see the different volcanoes. There we go. As we monitor volcanoes, I'm going to share with you this one image. Um, I'm going to share with you an image, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. How? All right, folks, if you're paying attention, check it out. Hey, let me take this out. Let me change the background here. Let me make it a little bit more favorable here. Sorry, folks. And let me move this over. Okay, if you're looking right now, if you're looking at the screen, all the red images that surround the planet, these are all volcanoes. And this is what's called the Ring of Fire. The fact that it's a volcanic shelf that hits all of South America, up through Central America, up through the Americas on this side, which is the United States, up into Canada, Alaska, through the Aleutian Islands, into the USSR, into that region of the world, the Nordic North, down into Asia, coming down through Japan, of course, as you see this portion of the world, and those islands in this way going all the way into out and surrounding Australia. These are the areas that have immense amounts of volcanoes, and because this region is considered the Ring of Fire, when one um, volcano bursts this way, it sends ripples throughout the entire circle. So it's a concern because if pressure is built under the the earth enough to explode underwater, which think about it, with millions, if not hundreds of millions of gallons of water creating that pressure downward onto the crust of the earth, and enough pressure exploding through the crust of the earth and through the water to shoot up in the sky, that's a lot of pressure. So imagine multiplying that by 10, if not 100 times more, and as it spreads throughout this entire area, the potential of it causing other volcanoes to explode in the other regions of the world. So we have to be very, very careful that this. Some days ago, there was a big scare about a tsunami threat hitting the West Coast. And of course, I think it was because of the trickle effect of the volcano that exploded in Tonga. So as we see the explosions take place, you see this screen talks about the portions of volcanoes, the schematic cross section of plate tectonics, and you see how underwater volcanoes, and this is what is suggested here, underwater volcanoes, and how the pressure shoots up from the inner core of the earth through that, causing a big blast, and that blast itself could consider and push the plate tectonics, what it is, the earth's plates to shift back and forth. After exploding, it comes back down, and it may not land the same way, so it causes ripples. Water gets consumed and gets pushed back out, and that's what a tsunami is. Most of the time, you'll see that from an earthquake caused from a volcano explosion or some sort of anomaly that causes a break in the Earth's crust. So it's something still to be concerned about as we move forward. Tonga, we send our thoughts and prayers to the individuals from Tonga that have been um, have succumbed to it. But you'll see early videos um, how the Tongolese individuals were actually just reporting it. You see videos of them showing what was going on at the time, huge bangs taking place seconds. You see fragments shooting up through the sky. A whole bunch of things that are scary to anyone who's been, I guess, sheltered for that type of activity. But I'm pretty certain that people in the Polynesian islands or those regions right there have seen things similar to that for centuries, and they know how to respond or react. However, anyone within this century hasn't seen one, so it's probably very, very scary. So we think send our thoughts and prayers, and soon we'll be sending supplies to help them. We have to care for our brothers and sisters all over the planet and whatever hardships they go through. And that's something that's not self-induced. That's Mother Nature basically letting us have it. So pay attention as we go on. Um, Other discussions that I wanted to really discuss a little bit about was you have to pay attention to the weather right now, y'all. This sonic boom that took place through the um, volcano eruption also put a disruption in the atmosphere and the weather patterns. If you're paying attention, let me see if I can pull up some other stuff. Recent weather patterns. Let's see if I can pull up something that shows you this. But um, the recent weather patterns is something that we have to also be very concerned with because the way the weather is going, you see the schematics of it. I'm going to show you from weather.com how the pattern, the unprecedented weather pattern that we're seeing recently. Let me see if I can pull it up. And I'm going to show you a little something. It's extremely important to pay attention, but there's so much speculation of upcoming anomalies when it comes to the weather, and this volcano has probably put a serious shift in the way the weather is going. So there's temperature that we see. Weather.com's not working with us. Still, I don't know what it is. Let me see if I can see radar. Um, Pull up some information to show everybody some recent weather patterns. I'm going to try to pull it up, but these guys, I'm not concerned for my region right now. However, let me see if I can go to recent weather patterns. This is the thing about Google. Google images changed after a while. I don't know why, but um, you have to be really concerned. Right now, the Appalachia region of the United States, which is the southern part of the region, we're talking about Kentucky, from Alabama to Kentucky to Tennessee up to southern portions of Pennsylvania in that region are suffering right now through winter storms, crazy winter storms. You'll see temperatures falling into the teens, if not zeros. There's a lot of moisture going on, sleet, ice coming down, and this is going to impact hit us in this region of South Jersey actually a lot sooner than we like. The way the temperatures are falling, it's an upward jet stream that we're facing. Just this week, we saw 5 different, I say, weather patterns or weather anomalies with high temperatures that are basically skating around different portions of America that are getting pushed around by Arctic temperatures coming from Canada or from the Nordic North. So as they're getting pushed around, as you see always, if you know how weather is, cold weather and hot water, cold air and hot air doesn't mix well. So it's a push. And if the temperatures decrease, it's a potential for snow. If it decreases more, of course, you have sleet, ice. So if it dwindles around the middle, then you'll have hail and some rain, potential rain, cold rain. If your temperatures, you've noticed temperatures seem to be falling. It's because we're going through an amazing shift in America. Let me see if I want to put up a picture, y'all, so you can see this going on right now, current condition that I'm talking about in America. The precipitation. Let me see if I can get it. Okay. It's taking a second, but I'm going to show you from the National Weather Service. As I said before, if you're ever interested in learning about weather and being more accurate about weather, don't go to Fox 5. Don't worry about Apple. Don't do any of that stuff. The best place to go to is here. When you go to NOAA.gov or the weather.gov, which is an avenue of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association, they give you information specific to weather here in the United States. If you see right here in the Great Northwest, there's a big precipitation going on right now, and cold temperatures are following. In Central America, it seems to be calm only because the weather patterns are pushing, and there's a warm weather pattern pushing this weather to stay on the eastern border. As you say, the Appalachian Mountains are here affected, so everyone from all the way down to from uh, Texas is getting affected by these temperatures down to 30 degrees. The areas of Texas that usually hover around 70, 80 degrees all year round are now they're looking at potential um, 30s and 20s and shooting all the way through southern regions of America, Georgia, Alabama, up to Virginia, North Carolina. There was a major anomaly in North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, for those who live in Charlotte, North Carolina, shooting up all the way up and down. They're speculating who's going to be the first area to receive at least 1 to 2 inches of snow. Some say it's Boston. No, Ryan Hall, my man, who is the weather god, I would say, for lack of a better term, suggesting that he thinks that Proderna, Proderna, North Carolina. I think that's the name of the city or the region area. He's suggesting that that's going to be the reason. That's going to be area he's suspecting will receive the most snowfall in a short bit of time. Pay attention. The way this is going, it can affect people in a big way because not only is this cold weather going on here, there's the concerns of this cold weather, which will follow a weather pattern as it always does. It comes in waves. Everything on the planet, everything comes in waves. There's sound, light, weather, pressure. Everything is about waves. So this is coming in on one wave. The things that are affecting us now on the eastern border of America, and as you see hovering over, causing all kinds of havoc in Cuba and in Miami, these are the southern portion of this weather pattern that's getting pushed out. The wave is coming from the western portion, the Pacific Northwest. That will affect the central portion of America, but it really depends on the pressure. There's enough pressure coming from El Nino region, which is the greater area outside of Los Angeles and outside of Guadalajara, Mexico. There's if the pressure is enough to consume it, then it won't cause much of an issue. It'll just dissipate and go into the Canadian North. However, this is growing. It has a lot of impact going on. I'm going to see if I can expand this a little further out. Let me see if there's a way to expand it. Yeah, okay, here we go. Um, we're going to see how this moves forward. But if you're looking at weather patterns here, this weather pattern, as I said before, it comes in as a wave. This is moving through the Aleutian Mountains, these islands, and seems to be following the coast, and it's coming down, and it's coming around the way it is. So all this weather is going to um, follow one another. So as you see cold weather today, the next couple of days, you'll see moisture. And there's going to be suspected snowfall and moisture coming for the next few days here in America. There's going to be areas where they're going to see snow that usually won't see snow. And there's other areas where they suspect snow, but it'll be coming in at high levels. I know Colorado has a tendency of depending on, because they have a big ski industry, depending on a lot on, I think it's Colorado and Utah, depend a lot on snow coming in. I think there's going to be fresh powder moving in, and it'll be moving in at high levels, so they'll be able to enjoy this because they're prepared for it. But other areas of the world, like Louisiana, may not be prepared for any snow at all. However, the impacts are real, so we have to pay attention. Again, if you're looking to get more valid information that's conducive to your region, your area, um, go over to weather.gov, and you can look information that way, or NOAA.gov, DOGOV, and you're able to get a lot of great information. Like this is a the water map, precipitation, and I'm going to see if I can look at the radar map to showing a little bit more of how the intensity of all this is going. Okay, cool. Again, as you're saying, the Greater Appalachia is getting affected by this moisture, and there's temperatures ranging, looks like minus 20 in certain regions outside of Virginia. The cold air is starting to affect and moving in certain areas and moving north. And the Pacific Northwest, as we saw in Alaska, um, up around Seattle, there's not a lot of cold air pressure, but this is following up, and this will move in a swooping fashion. And if this goes on and it's hit Nebraska and Missouri and what have you, continues to push this way, this will impact us here in the Northeast. This one right here may not impact it. The one that's affecting a large portion of the eastern board may not affect um, uh, many more outside of the area, but it's going to definitely leave a hell of an imprint on Americans now. And as this moves forward, this is going to further inconvenience a lot of areas like Detroit, New York City, Philadelphia, those areas. And if it grows, depends on the amount of pressure that this can push up. It can grow and actually build momentum and cause even more havoc, and then hover and linger like this one is lingering over the eastern border. So pay attention as we go moving forward. It's extremely important that we do so. Oh, I saw comments. Okay, comments. Hey, bro, I don't know why. Okay, AG, I see that you're checking it out, but there's nothing on the live. I don't know why there's nothing on the chat. Let me see. I don't know why, but let me see if I can put it here. Can you see it? I don't know. I'm not able to check it out, but it's live and it's public. Okay. All right. Nobody seems to be in the chat. I was wondering and everything. Been chilling, huh? Man? I got you. Chilling in the background. What's up, AG? Yeah, brother.
Yo, what's up, bro? They say if you can see it, you can be it. Remember that, all right? So remember, if you can see it, you can be it.
Yeah. I was just trying to figure out because Facebook, the interaction I usually get on Facebook is showing how many people are watching, but there's no conversation in chat. Usually by now,
Okay.
at least one person will chat in with a couple people. So how you doing, man?
Hey, not bad, man. How you doing? Just listen to you, carry on with you. What are you practicing to be a weather person or something? A meteorologist?
It seems to be it's something we all need to know. You know what I mean? We always
every now and then you're gonna have that polar vortex passing through. We've had it a few times before,
Yeah, but this one's a little different though. The vortex is one thing, and they're talking about there's a potential for um, another band of that. But we're talking about later on. This is a guy I watch. I think I've said it before. It's a guy named Ryan Hall. Ryan Hall is no joke when it comes to weatherman. He's very knowledgeable and he breaks it down to people understand. Man, he talks about future casting and now casting, gives you the references, has a weather like weather. Damn, what's the name of it? When people go out and chasers,
Weather chaser.
Yeah.
Storm chaser.
Exactly. So he has them live and he's showing all the place. So he's like the guy I turn to. I don't look at local news when it comes to weather. This guy is always on point, and he talks about the vortex is here and there, and also derechos. He talked about Detroit maybe potentially facing a derecho not long ago, and he was on point, man. He was online. This guy is on live during weather excursions and the situation that went down in central, um, the Bible Belt with all the different tornadoes. He was live telling everybody potentially where it could happen, what's happening. He was on point. Like I said, I got mad love for his forecasting, and I try to, as much as I can, give him the credit, but get information from him so I can share with our watchers and our listeners. But that's it. Trying to be of service. So
nothing wrong with that. It's called civic duty.
Well,
it's called civic duty.
I facilitated my civic duty. I think this is just
Yeah, it's never gonna leave your bone, bro. Trust and believe. You know what I'm saying? Something stays with you. Something stays with you. I don't care how you try to avoid it. It'll stay with you.
There was a brother that I ran into at Walmart. Says he was like, "What's up, Mo?" I was like, "Everything was good, just chilling." He says, "Yeah, I know you'll be back." So you'll be back. I'm here at Walmart all the time. You know that? No, that's not what I'm talking about. You can't stand being out of politics. It's in your blood. I said, no, I'd prefer not to, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. something just stays with you, man. It's like me in the casino industry. Every time I try to get out, they try to pull me back in again. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
It's like the Al Pacino movie. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. But there's another person offering you stuff.
What's that?
I said, there's somebody else trying to hit you up and offer you something.
Yeah, they're forever. You
Okay.
know, I'm trying to, the brother trying to do his own thing. You know what I'm saying? But they keep dangling that carrot over and over. You know.
Right, right, right. What the hell is this? It's crazy. I see what it is. Were you watching on Facebook? That's what you were watching?
Yeah.
Okay, because Facebook is trying to act up, and I don't know what it is. But I'm trying to see where the links are to see what I can do to make sure that it's present link. And on my side, I don't see present link. I don't know why. But anyway, how was your week, man?
Fantabulous. Fantabulous.
And I don't know why it's showing like it stopped. It's crazy.
You got too many gadgets over there, man. Too many wires.
Nah, everything is still wired. Everything,
I know
nothing's
I
changed.
got a crap load of wires hooking all of this stuff up. So I
Um,
know your phone hooks up to the computer and you have this running off of that and all the, you know, printers and other printers that connected to printers, the whole 9 yards.
Everything is off, and I told this to my family, unless my wife is upstairs sneaking and my son playing his game and being on the phone at the same time because they're all linked up to the router. This could be the situation. Are y'all on the computer or on the phone? Because the router could be delaying stuff. You better not be. I'm on.
That's how you can tell this is a homegrown show. Hey, what are you guys doing back upstairs? You
Outside of
know
the
what I'm saying?
wonderful decor in the background, right? Exactly. So, but back to what I was saying. How was your week, man?
It was good, man, no doubt. No doubt.
Okay.
Peaceful, restful, and all workable.
Okay.
You know, yeah, I was working on these two individuals, you know, working on their websites. You know, one of them has a sneaker company and the other one is a chef.
Awesome.
You know, so it's helping them get, you know, some type of digital footprint, digital presence on the internet.
Awesome. As helpful as always, man. Um, I was thinking about our buddy from the Carnival Company. I was trying to remember his name, Logan.
Oh, Anthony Logan,
Yeah. When's the last time you
restaurateur.
heard from him?
Huh?
Have you heard from him lately?
I've heard from him, I think, about a few days ago.
Okay.
You know, see what he was up to. You know, I think it was his birthday or something like that. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, if he's watching, happy birthday. He's been
Yeah,
on my
you
mind.
know.
Every once in a while, I think about the different people that we've had the pleasure of having on the show and sharing some moments with us, and I wonder how people are doing.
Yeah,
Uh, but
the individuals that I'm working with and stuff, once the website is like developed in the whole 9 yards, I'll have them, you know, if possible, come on the show, you know, or I'll show
cool.
you you know, take you to a link to the website that was, you know, that I developed, you know.
Awesome.
'Cause
Awesome.
I'm on that career path now,
I
you know what I'm
understand.
saying, to do what I want and how I want to do it, you know, and that's just the thing, website designing and the whole 9 yards, running the radio station, you know, all of those things merging together as one.
Hmm. I totally respect that. That's a beautiful thing. We here at the show, of course, appreciate all that you've done for the show because, that's your baby too. So, we
Yeah.
appreciate that.
I
But
went to the website, you know, and checked everything out to make sure everything was pathetic upstairs, you know,
mhm.
make sure everything's up to date, you know. That's what I was doing.
Okay, cool. Um, did you hear what's going in California with the legislation? Did you catch that on earlier? Did you hear that?
Not quite.
Trying to make legislation to approve for children 12 years and older a chance to be vaccinated on their own without parental consent. That's trouble. I don't know. I'm concerned with that. Letting kids 12 and older on their own get vaccinated if they choose, if they want, um, that seems to be problematic because to me, you still got human beings, executing the vaccine. If something happens at any point in time, child could be hurt, injured, harmed, short term, long term. How can they defend themselves? Would they be willing to? Are they really aware of all these things? I don't know.
Yeah, this world is like going topsy turvy right about now. I was watching flicking channels, watching Dr. Phil a few days ago, how these people are trying to develop their own pronouns as far as their kids are concerned. And this one lady's like, I'm gonna let my child, later on choose whether he want to be a he, a she, a it is one of them type things. I'm like, so on the birth certificate it has unknown when it comes down to sex. Yeah. I'm like, this is a nutty world, man. I'm serious.
Man, let
America
me
done lost its flipping mind along with the rest of the planet.
let
So that's
me.
what COVID does for you. It shut the economies down and it shut the brain down on many people many times over.
I have reservations for this way situation because I think the way things are going, there's so much about present time that you see a lot more in our youth that just demonstrates that this world is fucked up right now.
Oh
We
yeah.
are the way what we find is important, what we find to be pertinent over all other things is different to everyone, and pronouns and it's just it baffles me. Like I said, I've always said,
It had me shaking my head in the entire moment.
and I'm like, and this is never to belittle someone's, personal desire to be identified. That's, beyond that. I know myself, I can only speak for myself, but I don't care who you love as long as you find love. I don't care how you love as long as it's a love that's not harmful to you or anybody else. Whatever rocks your boat, whatever floats your boat, don't matter. But this whole situation of references or what you want to be called here and there, it's going to be confusing.
Of
It is
course.
confusing
What
as
do you put
hell.
down on a police report? You know
Oh my
what I'm
god.
saying? The cop says it's a he, and then you says no, I'm not a he. I name myself something else.
Yeah,
It's like crazy.
yeah. I'm glad. The associate producer is
Look
on,
what wife you put. You can change the sex. And, yeah,
and she can. She works with vital statistics. She tells me all the time that
exactly.
you can change. It's crazy. You can correct me if I'm wrong, dear, but you can change your sex to no sex at all. You don't have to
Yeah.
identify having being of any sex. I told my wife. I told my wife. I said from now on, I want to be considered wallet. That's it. I'm wallet. That's my sex wallet. That's it. Why? Because at one time that's all I was getting. More than twice, you need doctor's approval. Uh, for what? Anyway, she said something.
It's nutty.
I don't know. But
So
that discussion, it bugs me out, man.
yeah,
It bugs me out how people have a tendency of having issues with pronouns. Like, what's your pronoun? And that's like part of the conversation. Like, what's the pronoun?
they think
I,
it's discriminative for a person to actually says, "Hey, that's a he." You know.
the other emphasis coming from the loudspeaker on the other side is reminding us that you can also change the sex on a death certificate. On a death certificate,
That's wow.
if a person wanted to be identified in the living as a female and passes away, yes, yes, yes,
What?
yeah, that's it just shows the time. Like I said, everyone's struggle is different, but I'm still concerned of how people are so consumed with the need for pronouns to be identified up to that smallest iota of a reference. To be considered a human being, I think it's everyone's privilege. To be considered and loved is something that everyone desires and deserves. How are you being referenced? I think it's becoming more of an issue for those people who think that's
But
important.
no, you have a situation with people who are transgender these days. Okay, and then like this one guy, he went from a guy to a woman at Penn State. I think it was Penn State. Yeah, Penn State. And what happened was he started dominating, the swimming competitions. And he's like, oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
I'm taking my pills and the whole 9 yards. But dude, you're still a dude. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the woman doesn't have that type of build, and he's beating all of them up like crazy when it comes to swimming.
you saw that in track and field. Remember when that one? I felt real bad. There was one sister that
Yeah,
was from an African nation, and because her hormones, what it was, and it was she was never transsexual. She was biologically female, running as a female, but they kept questioning was she transgender because at that time that was a big
It's
craze.
very confusing. Yeah.
She went through all kinds of scrutiny, which was sad, man. But you see a lot of now
Yeah.
transgender people out there want to compete in their preferred
But then
sex,
the
and I'm
same
like,
thing,
to me,
but no, but you have the same thing when it comes into restroom. When you have a dude that actually went from a guy to a girl, and they had something like that also. This guy was, this young boy was dressing as a girl and went into the girl's dressing room and ended up raping another girl.
mhm,
That's crazy.
yeah. Because oddly enough, this is the weird. I ain't gonna say perversion, but this is the oddity that exists. Sometimes there's uh, cross-dressing men that dress like women, and the general population that look at that will consider them transgender, thinking they'll think in their mind they want to be a woman to be with men, when in actuality they're men that like to dress like women who still like having sex with women, so they become potentially a threat to any woman they go into the stall with. It's a threat. It's a shame. It's a shame that people life has gotten so complicated. Um,
Yeah, it has.
and it's great for people who find the liberation in identity. I feel really good for the individuals who finally get to feel free and shed the limitations that they feel that they've had. However, in this liberty that they're getting, how complex are you making life more now? How the complexities that you're adding to it? Is it going to cause more havoc in the world? I don't know. Is it worth it? I guess we'll see. I guess to everyone is different. You know what I mean? But it's complex like crazy.
But do they create with the pronoun situation? Do they create another restroom for someone that calls themselves something else other than a he or she?
It is now
You know
called
what I'm saying?
the family the bathroom. You know how there's a
Not every
woman's
bathroom,
bathroom,
not every
male's
place can
bathroom,
afford a family bathroom. You know
but
what I'm saying? You have
that
to put a sign of a man, a woman, and then you put the back of a man and a woman. I mean, it becomes very complex.
I don't know how that's going to move forward. But I thought the most keen solution that we saw regularly is now you see here is the family bathroom, where bathrooms are set up so families with children can go and change diapers and stuff like that. They're unisex, and they only one person going in at a time. I think that's a solution to many times. I know my son was saying in those restrooms at his high school that did that, for I guess young mothers or what have you, or to gave it for transgender people like that. So that was a solution. However, moving forward, will they create a symbol for that? And
Yeah,
if that's the case, will it actually
like this.
will it create like like in Nazi Germany when you
You
had
even
the
try
big
to. I'm
stars?
watching your mind move around, and you're still trying to wrap your mind around exactly what you're trying to say here. Because the fact of the matter that it's going to become very confusing, very complex. Not too
It
many
is. It's
businesses will
very
be able
complex.
to adhere to these laws, and then they're going to end up being fined one way or another. Or if somebody actually, goes in and rapes somebody on a private establishment, that only have men and women, but the person is like alternative. Maybe that's the word that they need to have to start using alternative other than a man and a woman. If you want to use another sex, use that as an alternative.
Yep.
But like this one guy says, you just in life you just can't choose to actually have your own pronouns. You know what I'm saying? He said it just doesn't work that way.
And that's the crazy truth right there. Because the more and more I still think about it, the more I'm concerned about people's health. Their livelihood, their ability to exist. Because you got some people who are cruel and intentionally would want to harm or kill people like
Correct. And I've
you
seen it.
know, and
I've
and
seen it.
to help them in identifying themselves is that pointing them out to people who want to cause harm to them.
Correct. Exactly.
You know what I mean? And we have to be concerned for that. No one should ever be subjected to any kind of physical harm or anything just
Correct.
because of how they look or how they love. So but it's definitely going to be complex as we move forward. This is some
Yeah.
shit that's going to be a big debate. I'm seeing it like crazy, especially young people. I heard this conversation a couple times out of my son and speaking to other young folks, and they'll say, what pronouns do you prefer? I'm like, damn, that's part of a discussion. What pronouns do you prefer? I'm like, wow,
No,
that's
like I said before, you're living in the future. Remember that. You're living in the future. This is
crazy.
the future. This is our future. It's not
Hell
their
yeah,
future. It's our future. The
it's the
40s,
new
the
norm.
50s, the 60s. This is our future that we're living in.
It is the new norm. It's the crazy. It's the stuff
Their
that we
future is yet to come.
oh my god, it's the way it's developing. But That cracked me up. How I heard him say that. He says, what he's telling just somebody in general, what pronouns do you prefer? And he has a friend that says that you don't want to use any pronouns. So you're gonna point in that direction. how you gonna how you gonna refer to them on the phone? That person.
No, but look at this. They can go back and actually see if they could actually use Prince as a symbol because remember he changed his name to a symbol.
Oh
You
my
know, he
God.
went from Prince and he went from to a symbol.
He
You know,
was
so
ahead
maybe
of his
they'll have a
man.
symbol or something like that.
He was ahead of his time.
Yeah.
Maybe he's the godfather of the, or shall we say godmother, god pronoun. He was Prince.
The person, the
He
guy
was,
person,
yeah.
the guy person.
And is considered isn't someone considered a person? Is that offensive? That's crazy. I don't know now. That's crazy.
Well, when you have a hard time trying to differentiate between what's going on, you try to be respectful at the same time. So you try to just say person.
That's PC. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. In general, so
that's PC. Because I'll be honest with you,
it's off the
I
tone.
had I had I still have somewhat a reservation of making a mistake when I'm making reference to a transgender man or woman. It I'm forgetting because if I'm seeing them biologically as something, I make a reference as them in that form. When it's not the case, it's the form that they're preferring. Like if it's a young man who I know grew up and has who's transitioned in their gender to be a woman, I would always make in reference thinking it's a transgender male. No, it's a transgender woman. So it took me a minute for me to understand that concept, the lingo, the direction to it. I was making mistakes and I felt bad, man, because I didn't want anyone to be offended by what I'm saying. And just in my trying to be logical, trying to really make it connect and click, I may have made some mistakes.
You was just trying to be politically correct, and you were
Yeah,
screwing it up. Let's face it.
yeah,
You was just trying to be politically correct, and it just didn't go over well.
yeah. Because
That's it.
in joking with my son, it says I could have just been an old head fool and said all kinds of raunchy shit, nasty shit, but I choose not to be. I'm more kind. I'm not that crazy person that says any kind of thing out of the side of their face. It could be some crazy shit.
Oh yeah, another thing also, I sent you an article in reference to the Tuskegee Airmen.
Yeah, I saw that, man.
Why don't you, why don't you elaborate for the people out there? What was that article all about, man? Why don't you tell us?
No, I can't. I saw the article. I didn't get reading it.
Oh, you didn't check it
I
out?
didn't get a chance to read it. I did check it out. I made a connection to it because I always make sure I get a look at it.
Okay, yeah, I
I
checked
went
it out
to,
on the evening news. That's where I picked up on it
oh, okay.
because I believe it was the very last Tuskegee Airmen who's still alive. What
Yeah.
happened was many years ago,
You got
these guys decided to have a competition, Tuskegee Airmen versus the
top
regular
gun.
airmen in the military,
Top gun.
and obviously always bet on black, and they didn't, but the black people won. The Tuskegee Airmen kicked that ass. There's no doubt,
Right. Right.
and they actually gave them a trophy.
Right.
So they took a picture of the trophy and the Tuskegee Airmen, and then after that, the trophy mysteriously disappeared. They took the trophy and they hid it from Tuskegee Airmen in a warehouse somewhere,
Hmm.
and they just recently found it and put it back on display.
Hmm. And if you may not be aware, for some odd reason, you weren't aware who the Tuskegee Airmen, it was a group or a regiment of black airmen who were put together. They were considered the Red Tails out of Tuskegee, Alabama.
Yeah,
They were based out of Tuskegee, Alabama, and they were black airmen that were put together through their abilities to actually do the gopher jobs in the Air Force. They ended up being one of the most important entities in
yeah,
the war that helped win the war for America.
yeah.
And these airmen, they were all black. And let me give you a reference also. They had Latinos. They had some Latinos in the
Yeah, they do.
Tuskegee Airmen. But these great brave men went and they did some excess of 108 missions
Yeah,
and lost no one in their entire mission of who they were protecting.
they were escorting bombers back in the
Bombers.
day. Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly. And they had antiquated planes.
yeah,
The rest of the Air Force
yeah.
had all the top, whatever was available at that time.
The
They
Top
had
Gun.
barnstormers. And exactly, they were the originators of dogfighting. And these individuals went in and championed the whole effort,
Yeah,
and they were stellar. They won awards, crazy amounts of Purple Hearts, and a lot of times they were held back from getting those things solely because they were black officers.
Correct.
Luckily, throughout years and tradition and adamant historians and archiving, they were able to ascertain who had gotten these awards, and a lot of highlights. And this one, and I'm glad that he brought it up, was Top Gun. Top Gun is a school that has a competition amongst all the military airmen to see who's actually the best dogfighter, the best engineer in the in-air battle strategist, all these different factors that take place. 73 years ago, after winning the Top Gun, this man or his family was able to get this trophy that he duly won. But at that time, because of race and hatred and bigotry still in the military, and these individuals went out there and put their lives on the line for everyone else. And this, again, it basically emulates this whole concept that these men who love their country and love that they did so much that they gave their lives to fight and protect it were not loved by the country they were defending. And until this point in time. So we tipped our hats and we bow in honor and respect to the Tuskegee Airmen. But after 73 years of winning the Top Gun Award, y'all should have a parade for the airmen.
That's right. That's
in
right.
Every big city, especially Tuskegee, Alabama, for all that they've done and then the legacy they've left of champions.
You know, and the strange thing about it, because the same thing that these guys back in the day were fighting for, voters' rights, and the same thing is the same thing that we're still fighting for many years later, voters' rights.
It's a shame, man. Said retired Lieutenant Colonel James Harvey, 98 years old, pilot. He's part of the winning team.
Yeah.
He was the one being able to represent and accept the award on behalf of the team. But again, as Adrian said, we're still fighting for some of the same concerns.
Yeah, it's
quality,
crazy.
And it's the shame. And I saw something recently that sort of ignited the same type of, I would say, passion, anger, rage, being woke. People of color here in the United States have been treated so badly for decades, centuries, under the guise of the American dream, under the guise of American behavior, under the guise of religion, under the guise of business. For every reason, there seems to be a backstory always that suggests that people of color can and should be treated unfairly. Whether it's redlining, being able to buy properties and having businesses, getting access to money, equities, and financial resources so people can sustain their own living and their own businesses, to the history that we know of Black Wall Street and how Utah became one of the biggest grave sites America will ever know, second to probably Wounded Knee. So it's an ongoing story that America has to finally find some way to get to the peak of the story where people of color get what we deserve. Not only the notoriety and acknowledgement of all these things through critical race theory in education and school, but also some of the semblances that we need to have all over the nation, the way we've had these racist leaders, soldiers, names all over, whether it's a bridge, it's a school, it's a gymnasium, it's a statue, all over the place, all over the United States. There's all these rednecks and these evil individuals that kill people of color all over, celebrated like they're the forefathers of America. They may be the forefathers of America that you hold on to dearly, but they sure as hell don't represent what America means to me. And it's just ongoing.
It is. It is. And it's very saddening at the same time because, you know, in America, it should be one history, but in this country, there's two histories. You have their history, and then you have the African American history, the African American experience, the things that they've been through and the things that they've done that was never even recognized. And that's probably, you know, a small piece of the cake is what you and I have just touched on.
Mm-hmm. You have his story and our story.
Exactly.
It's a shame. I was just reflecting on that. I was just looking at a report discussion about law and how Justice Sotomayor stood up and basically said that the Supreme Court justice should be ashamed. I forget the actual term. That she put like the highest concept of shame on the Supreme Court for turning their backs on the concepts of Roe v. Wade, how it affected in Texas, how abortions, how now in Texas, someone as an Uber driver innocently driving someone and who ends up getting an
All right.
abortion can be
Soon.
financially attacked,
10,000, yeah.
sued, and what have you, and how the Supreme Court justice have turned their back to allow that to happen. It is such a smack in the face to justice. And that's just one example. I mean, of course, there's ongoing examples of how the Supreme Court justice still doesn't want
But you
to.
know something also, most sorry to interrupt, but at the same time, you're looking at Biden also because a lot of people, and I've heard it on other talk shows that I've been on, you know, and they're like, hey, look, this should stack the freaking Supreme Court because Trump had no problem doing it.
Mhm.
He had zero problem stacking the Supreme Court. He put all of his people in place because he knew he was going to be, you know, knee deep in corruption. You know, and that's exactly what's going on right now. That's his court. You know, he stacked, you know, while everybody was looking over here at Black Lives Matter, he was stacking each and every single one of the courts for the United States. That if him and his boys want to run to it, they're like, look, we put him in place. So he's one of ours. There were nothing but drones and clones that was being put inside of these places.
Yep.
You know, Biden comes along, you know, he's like, everybody's like, stack the Supreme Court right now. You know, but what are you going to do? Wait until the last minute to actually do it when all of your people are, you know, voted out of office? They it seems like the Democrats just don't seem to get the idea because the Republicans are like thinking way ahead of them. These guys are thinking backwards.
That's what I've been saying. I said, honestly, the way things are, this whole political, the party politics nonsense, it seems to be a bunch of smoke and mirrors because Democrats now are acting like old Republicans back in the day, old crazy racist right wing Republicans, and we seem to be reliving this whole concept of party politics and looking at the truth that they could do a lot, but they just don't do it. The
Then when
Democrats
they
in
get
office
voted
these
out of
days don't
office,
seem
then they
to
say they're
have
going to do it. You're
they,
right.
they don't have the balls to make the biggest affecting changes, probably because they're worried about the ripple effects and how it affects the people who contribute to their campaigns or how it affects financial. And it's always financial. It's always a financial thing. If you did a financial audit on all these individuals in the Senate, in the House of Representatives, do a serious financial audit, a forensic audit on everyone. You can see where their loyalties lie.
Yeah.
Because and when you get into that level, anyone that gets hired at that level, they could be middle class people. By the time they finish their tenure, they're not only millionaires, they're
Correct.
multi-millionaires.
Yes,
And
they
they already
are.
created generational wealth for their families.
But they're
Because
supposed to be serving the public. Why is it that they're more wealthier than the public? That's what I've always come to, you know, say. They're more wealthier than the public when you're supposed to be serving the public. You're a public servant.
yep.
You know, it's like a cop. A cop is a public servant. At the end of the day, do the cop end up making more money than the mayor? You know what I'm saying? No. You see?
Should be. It shouldn't be, but again, that demonstrates
Yeah, the
it
mayor
just
doesn't put his
demonstrates
life on the line, but a
yeah,
cop damn sure does.
right. But you should see it demonstrates how America is. We love to talk about how we're so concerned about everybody through democracy when it's the same oligarch shit. It's about the people at the 1%.
Yeah.
As long as you continue to let the 1% make the decision for everybody else, we're never going to have we're never going to meet the full potential of our American population. That's why I'm not I'm more of a socialist with democratic values than I'm ever a communist ever. I'm a socialist with democratic values because I think everyone deserves a chance. And if we have a level balance, and this is not only through equality, but we need equity to get to the point, and then we can see a better growth, a better crop of individuals finally flourish in America, and America can really grow to the potential that we are. But as long as we continue this way, it's always going to be controlled by whoever pulls the levers here and there from these puppets, and it's just disgusting.
It is.
It's disgusting.
It's just crazy. That's all it is. Like he says, these guys end up, you know, going to office being, the regular, Joe Publican comes out being the next millionaire.
Mhm.
And it's sad, totally.
Yeah, and it's a shame because this is what it is. Just like if we're talking about somewhat local politics, Jeff Van Drew was an assemblyman that ended up becoming a senator, right, from southern New Jersey, Cape May County. He was a Republican for most of his life. All of a sudden, changed over Democratic values, acted like a Republican all the time. Then he got into office and then switched over to being a Republican. Then they called him all kinds of this and that. He showed you who he was all this time. He's always showed you what kind of person he is. Now is he at the level of what he is? You look at him differently. Hey, that's your dumbass fault to even believe that it
Yeah,
was a
but
big
the
difference
thing
in
about
him
it
when he
is
told you
because
who he was.
right after he pulled that little stunt, I looked it up because in certain places your ass will go to jail because that's fraud.
Mhm.
That's fraud. You took these people who are Democrats' money and then you actually changed parties.
Mhm.
You know, the allegiance lies in the dollar bill and where the money lies.
Yep.
So when he actually switched, he took people's money, putting them under the illusion that he was a freaking Democrat. Then he flipped the script on them. Yeah, in certain
Absolutely.
countries, your ass will go to jail.
Absolutely. That
Period.
is fraud. But
That
here's
is
the
fraud.
case. Who makes the laws? They do. You think they're
Exactly.
going to make a law to go against
That's
the
the reason
actions
why,
that they
like I
do?
said, in some countries, America
Yeah,
is not one of them.
of course not.
America is not one of them.
Of course not.
It's like like what Steve Harvey said. They said this is the greatest country in the world. And it is a good country to be in. There's no doubt about it. But why is it that we have the worst health care? We have the worst political system going on. We have the uppress. We have the racism, the biasness, but still being the best country in the world.
We
Is
have the best opportunities for people who can afford them. And we have the best opportunities for people that come from other countries. But we also have a system that creates poverty and uses poverty to make people wealthy. We talk about the economy. Um, I'm trying to remember which comedian it was. I don't know if it was D. Hell Hewley a long time ago. He was talking about U.S. government kept saying there's not enough money to give people money. They were talking about reparations. There's not enough money to give people money. Everyone don't deserve money this way and all. We can't give you money. Then all of a sudden, the pandemic and everybody got money. Not only one wave, they got three waves of money. Then after that, all this other money came out to industries. Where all that money come from? All this stuff is man duplicated, is banked inside our federal government, in the Federal Reserves, and everywhere around. There's so much money that seems to be revolving for purposes that they feel more appropriate instead of sustaining everyone. It's one thing I liked about Andrew Yang that suggested to everyone that if our federal government did more so to participate in the lives of average people by giving them money on a regular basis, maybe our economy better. It makes sense to me um, what he was trying to do, but it just shows that whatever America is capable of doing, whatever it wants to, but we've always been lied to. There's not enough money. There's not enough money. Well, obviously, it must have been enough money because the senators and House of Republicans and the president and everybody else in the administration never failed to get a paycheck. Never. Got their health insurance, got being able to fly wherever they want to. You had my man from Texas hanging out in Mexico talking about how they feel bad about his people in Texas during the hurricane. Uh, you know, they, they have enough money to do whatever they want to in their lives. So obviously, America is hiding the truth. Lorella's trying to come on, but she seems to be having technical
You
problems.
ever heard that old saying, "He who has the goal makes the rules"?
Yeah, man.
Well, in Washington D.C., they have the goal and they making the same damn rules for themselves. It's a one man show. That's what it really boils down to.
Yep.
Because you have the situation. Let's take a perfect example. Manchin and Cinema. These two clowns who actually said that they're Democrats. They're doing the same thing that Jeff Van Drew is doing. He is actually, like you said, he was a Republican from the get go, and that's what these two are acting. They're Republicans in the primarily state that they're in, but they're taking the Democrats' money.
It's
And
crazy.
that's the problem. But they're holding up every bill that would actually benefit the people in their state and the people who are Democrats and Republicans for that matter.
But you know what the crazy thing is? Thinking about it, they may be the best example of Democrat in the state that they live in because all the Republicans are right wing, like crazy conservative Republicans. So anyone that's swaying opposite that direction is considered a Democrat. But in measuring all over America, the traditional sense of the word, they're too far off right wing to be considered that too. So that's why we're looking at them like, yo, they're not Democrats, they're Republicans. In
Yeah,
that state, they may be the biggest sign of Democrats that they've ever seen. So that's probably one
yeah,
situation. But Joe Manchin's an overwhelming asshole that understands the power that he has in his hand,
yeah,
and he loves it. He's enjoying that power that he's able to do so, and that's why we say it's extremely dangerous when politics, when you have someone who sits on the edge of the fence. We've had this same situation here in local politics. We have this one politician who is represents an award, sixth ward, and he's played the fence for so long because he's been uniquely the only white person there. So they look at him being the gateway to the white vote in Atlantic City, which he wasn't, but that's what they looked at. And he played his role. He made himself very powerful because he didn't verbally align himself with one grouping. However, he always aligned himself with that group, but he never discussed it. So he made himself even more powerful. It's the people who sit on the fence sometimes that become even the most dangerous and most powerful. And in one aspect, remember when the Tea Party was formulated?
yeah.
It was that same concept. Same concept. They were so right wing conservative that they couldn't hang with the regular Republicans, and they became fencers, sitting on there between being extremists to being what they are there. And so I don't know what it is, but guess who's on? Laurel, verbally.
Hey, look at that.
Hi,
I guess,
Laurel.
hey, Mo, I think it's time to talk food now.
Either that or her hat and the scarf that she got today. Seemed like it was really nice.
Yeah, it
Hi,
does.
Laurel.
I saw that. Very nice.
Okay, now her back is on, but she's not speaking.
Yeah, the mic is off.
I guess she'll talk when she feels like it. Okay. But that's the pain in the ass that we've seen today, and that demonstrates why people. That's another example, and I think that's a discussion. Matter of fact, I know that Ricky Smiley and DL Hughley was having not too long ago in a national. I think it was a press run through comedy when they were talking about politically correctness and talking about how comedy has changed. One of the things they talk about, and D.L. Hughley has been adamant about this aspect, is politics has pushed people away so much because of all the backbiting, the lying, all the stuff that's going that the numbers of voters have diminished in the thousands and hundreds of thousands, and even to the point where millions less voters now than we've ever had before. And when you're asking about the newest voters, they are not as likely to vote for any of these individuals. So the numbers are going down. They're disengaged.
But
They're
Mo, you
not.
have to also take into consideration that they're actually changing a lot of voting laws also across the United States. They want to actually put in place some of these guys. Let's have a vote, a voting police. So any type of fraud that's actually going on at the ballot box, we could actually have, law enforcement. I mean, come on, really. I think
They
that's
have
what we
them.
have district attorneys and some of these guys for. You know what I'm saying? The attorney
They have
general and
them.
these guys. Yeah,
They have them.
but yeah,
Each
but they
state
want
has
to
their.
have like law enforcement, people in uniform policing the ballots and stuff. Come on. And the ones that they actually found the fraud with was the Republicans, when these guys were actually voting twice and three times because they were trying to keep Trump in office.
But this is the concept. Even that, when you're talking about Trump, because I know there's latest information that suggests about it voting. But even the concept of that, there's always been an ELEC, and a commission set up in every state to monitor election and to have prosecutors available at any time at the sign of fraud or any kind of disenfranchisement. The local police department is supposed to be involved, and when it comes voter suppression, all those things are being involved. The problem is local police don't want to be involved in stuff like that because they think it's petty, and it's hard for them to prove this and that way when it's actually not as hard knowing the
Correct.
whole gist of it. And then the prosecutors sometimes will pull on suspicious behavior. So if you crying fire in a building that's not on fire enough, they tend to not want to come out. So that's the complacency that we have in the system. So they're there. The idea is that, do we need to now become more technical, like having cameras at the voting booths, having cameras outside of it, immediate interaction back and forth? So if you see something happen and they're reviewing cameras and videos and interlingos, will the voting process now become totally virtual, electronic? so it can be monitored that way. When it's because it's a lot of it's paper. There's a lot of fraud happening because it's through the mail. That process could be fraudulent. There's a lot of cases on that, but it still causes people not to want to vote because there's so much fraud in it and so much thievery that goes on, and the same crooks seem to be elected over and over again.
Yeah, it doesn't change. It doesn't change whatsoever.
That's why people don't want to engage in it. That's why the word politics is like it's a bad word to most people. Instead of looking at it as an ends to the means to be able to navigate through systems to be able to afford the population what they deserve and what they need, it's like a bad word. You calling somebody a politician, it's like you talking about their mother. I always say, when they call, oh, you're just a politician. Yo, don't disrespect me. I used to feel disrespected because this is how they look at it. They want to throw their disparaging comments in their imagery of what a politician is, and I wasn't ever suited.
You wasn't having it, huh?
Not me. I said no. I'm a social worker that is an elected official. I'm a person who's a public servant who is in office to help with your voice. I'm none of that politician shit. Because a bureaucrat. That's the other
thing. So you even find it kind of insulting yourself.
Because it is. Because in essence, the stereotype that they're talking about is justified. You're like, oh, politicians are crooked. Hell fucking yeah. There's a lot of them. And the friendly neighborhood politicians that everybody wants to gravitate.
Because there's a lot of money and rules in the process to actually ascertain.
Someone had said to me, jokingly, jovially, in a social gathering, Mo, there's more money in politics than any other industry in America. And I didn't believe it until moving further into it and saw how politics was.
Yeah. Money, power, and respect. You heard the song. Mm-hmm. Money, power, and respect.
I guess that's why drug dealers seem to gravitate towards politics so much, because it affords them money, power, and respect. But Laurel, where you at? You
money,
connected,
power,
but you're not connected.
That's what it's about. Money, power, and respect.
Right. Laurel, you're connected, but you're not connected. If you're not going to talk, I'm going to boot you out until you're ready to come back out. Let me know when you're back in. So, as we move forward, politics, the way things are going, I know, as you said, about stacking the Supreme Court, it's a necessary thing. Because
they're going to wait until it's too late, Mo. They're going to wait until the majority of Democrats have been voted out of office, in the midterm that's coming up. And that's it. They're going to be asked out again.
But you know what? This is the same cyclical shit. When the Democrats finally get in power and they have a Democratic president, Democratic House,
they don't know how to use the power.
They don't do shit.
They don't do it. The same thing happened when Barack became president. All of them sat on their hands and nothing was done, and they all got voted out in the midterm.
The stimulus, all that came through Republican dominance.
Yeah.
All the stuff that's positive that may have come through a Democratic president is because the Republicans in the background had to be coddled to and worked with and whatever, and they made it happen. But when you got Democrats sitting up there, there's too much looking for the spoils of the land to get some shit done that they never seem to get shit done or get in the way, like Joe Manchin. That's why I'm like, it's a shame. That's why I said one of the primary reasons I stepped away from being a Democrat, a registered Democrat, to now being an independent, is because I'm tired of this broken transmission shit. You want to say you're a D, but you're a R, but you ain't doing shit. You're moving backwards. You're not helpful. You're not doing nothing. I'm not against anyone in their preferences, but I'm not a Democrat, and I sure as hell ain't not a Republican. So I'd rather be independent in my views because I support some views. I support some views that are popular with Republicans, but the majority of stuff that I support are followed or seem to be popular with Democrats more. But I'm an independent. I'm an independent. I'm still burning with Bernie, even though whatever happened
to Bernie. Did they burn him at the Burning Man or what? I haven't heard from him in a while, man.
He's still around, but he's aging, man. But I think they got him good. When they held his brother,
stay young forever. That fire, eventually, somebody's going to pick that flame up.
Oh, I think they took it out when they had his his brother by his nuts and probably by gunpoint at that time of that rally, when he had to actually verbally say that he's not going to run any longer and he's going to support um, um, the child predator's wife, Clinton. Um, Hillary Clinton. When he went and had to verbalize him support for Hillary Clinton, had his brother in the stands with people, hitmen around the sides, looking like they had guns to him. I said, that's what that was. He had this look on the face of concern, of worry. Why? Because somebody was willing to kill him, his brother, to get what they wanted.
Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy, insane, crazy in the brain, my brother.
That's the America. That's the America that we seem to be
The great America.
Okay. It seems that Laurel has bronchitis. She doesn't have a voice. Okay.
Ooh.
Rel, so I don't know how you were going to communicate on the show. Blink 2 times when they say yes. Smile. I don't know how. But she's on chat letting us know she have no voice, still fighting bronchitis. Poor baby. I don't know how that can help, but
wish her well, no doubt.
Yeah. You can come on and just wave, nod your head, write on a piece of paper or something, and we'll translate. But I hope you feel better. But
yes, ditto.
I think that's the dilemma with all this politics and now the midterm elections coming back around. Yeah. These fools don't actually see that ain't shit getting done, and it's not helping. Okay, she says I'm just listening. Okay, that's helpful, I guess. I'm concerned. One person I haven't heard too much from, which I'm concerned of, because she was on everyone's radar. AOC.
Yeah.
Alicia Casio. She was on everyone's radar. She was very verbose about different things here and there. And it seemed like when she started hitting energy, when she was going after Tesla and the different corporations talking about green energy and the second Bill of Rights, Human Bill of Rights. Okay. Seems like she has gotten a promotion. She's now a security supervisor.
All right. Nice. Congratulations. Yeah.
All right. I bet you're enjoying handcuffing people now, boy.
Yeah. But what do you think about that Maryland Live deal, huh?
Oh my God! I looked at that stuff. I was laughing.
I sent it to you. I says, you want to enjoy watching this one? I don't know. I just seem to get the good videos, bro. I don't know. Some people just seem to send me the good videos.
If you haven't seen it yet, it is the recording of what happened, the interaction that happened at a casino called Maryland Live. Right? Maryland Live is in what part of Maryland? Isn't it over there next to MGM?
No, that's not. No, because MGM is on the outskirts. MGM is more like close to like the DC area, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, outside that. I think it's outside.
But Maryland Live is more the inner city of Philadelphia, Maryland. I've been to that one before.
Okay.
Because my cousin lived down there.
Okay. But if you haven't seen it, it's the redcoats seem to come in and swarm. This guy who had no shirt seemed to be drunk out of his ass.
To spin the wheel, Mo. Come on,
he jumped in a pit at the wheel and tried to spin the wheel. And not only did security jump on his ass, they tried to start wailing on him and beating on him.
I can't look at the video. This guy, man, 11.
But if you look at the video, if you had these individuals working in security there, anybody can go in there and do all kinds of shit because they were some whack ass. They couldn't even swing on people. The guy was swinging. I think he swung on him about 11, 12 times to his face. Anybody, I mean, for real, it seems like my dog could probably hit them harder than it.
That security guard was beating the hell out of that dude, Mo. Come on. That security guard was.
It was nothing. He was looking at him like, why are you slapping me? The guy was swinging at him hard. It's probably because them tight ass red jackets he couldn't swing. Then he was doing overhead bolos. I said, see, this is the kind of stuff that casinos here in New Jersey are refrained from. They try to not get involved in stuff like that. They try to train them because they look bad. In Vegas, they had that kind of shit. They run up on you, they'll beat your ass up, and y'all end up in some dugout some cave or a grave somewhere in the middle of Death Valley type shit. They handle security differently. Man,
But
this
Mo,
really live.
look, I worked in the casino business for many years, and I've also done security, so I know what goes on. Okay, and I remember when I worked at Trump Plaza because this one guy was arrested, and he was security. He beat this guy so bad he killed him.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm
I've seen
saying? Yeah,
Avondale. That's where that is. Avondale. Laurel said Avondale. Says yeah, the guy was fired. That made no sense. Yeah.
yeah, he really
That whole
did, man.
situation.
Whatever him to you can move the guy out of the way, you know what I'm saying, and back him up. But this guy was swinging some punches like he stole his goldfish or something.
Let them customers fight like animals, then lock them up. Of course. I mean, that's the Harris way to do stuff. Because I remember the video we just saw with the real estate guys. That was hilarious. A bunch of it's not that serious.
Yeah,
My wife didn't think that serious.
I know times are hard in real estate and stuff, but Jesus.
That's what I'm saying. The market is hard as hell on some people, ain't it?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Why you say it ain't that serious? I know, but these people don't think that. I'm like, you go someplace to have a good time. Why are you going ape?
Yeah.
I don't get it. Why are you going off like that?
Yeah, Laurel said they were outmanned in her her security expertise. She said they're outmanned. I said it in some acts. It really takes thinking, a good strategy to understand what you can and cannot do. When you're in a situation like that, first off, that guy shouldn't have never been allowed to enter the pit. He shouldn't have been on the ground floor. If you would have noticed he was drinking, acting a certain type of way, he shouldn't have been allowed on the floor.
Yeah,
because he potentially could have been a problem. So that's
correct.
2 strikes dead. It just depends on people and their understanding of others. You
I
got some
had a
situations, some
situation.
casinos let folks do whatever it is as long as you're spending money. That's the
Look,
problem.
I've seen, like I said, I've seen a lot of these casino brawls in my time. More than what I care to remember or reminisce. I
Man,
remember one time, they had a fish concert. And this one guy was dressed as a cowboy, and then they couldn't find another guy who was dressed as the freaking cowboy also from one of the was it one of those movies? Dressed as a cowboy, cartoon cowboy, or some craziness like that. Toy Story. That's what it was. The
Yep.
Toy Story, the cowboy. And then these two fools started fighting each other in the middle of the casino floor. Both of them dressed up as the cowboys from the movie. It's ridiculous.
Said Woody.
Yeah, Woody, exactly. Both of them dressed as Woody. And he's like, yo, this is my costume. No, this is mine. I saw it first and I bought it. And before you know it, these two a-holes just wailing on each other.
Oh my God. It's just foolish the way things are going. And again, I don't know what it is with grown ass people acting as really childish the way it is that they feel like they're fighting. And it's always drunk people. Either you have the crying drunk or you got the angry drunk. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with these individuals and the fights that they get into? When you
But
got some
you
situations,
missed out one. But you have the friendly ones also. They're going to get, they get really friendly because
yeah.
when I worked at Tropicana, I've encountered those, and they're like,
you got the touchy
you're my
feely,
guy, and they're like really, really,
drunk, right.
yeah,
Right.
they're
But
very
I'd rather take the joyous drunk over
Yeah.
the angry drunk anytime. Alcohol, drugs,
Exactly.
pride, and stupidity. Yep.
When I lived uptown Atlantic City, my neighbor was an angry drunk. You know what I'm saying? He get drunk and you could hear this guy from, miles away. They're always calling the cops on him.
Oh, angry drunks, and I can't stand the crying drunk. Every time they get drunk, they start crying. All of a sudden, the world is falling apart in the whole night.
Those are the winery ones.
Oh my
Keep whining, whining, and whining.
They cause problems. They probably get the angry drunk angry. So you get to see it. If you see around people long enough, you get to see the type of people that they are.
Yeah, you see the different personalities. And that's the reason what makes me so keen when it comes to personalities also, because I've dealt with so many of them. It's like freaking unreal.
Man, in politics, I would tell people, I said, I have a bullshit filter. My bullshit filter is on point. I can disseminate, I can discern the type of character and characteristics of an individual, what they're willing to do under pressure and how they will. Just after a few minutes of time interacting, my bullshit filter was on point every time. And I got that sometime. I got some of it from working in the casino industry, having to work with customer service, working along with security, or working in the elements sometimes in security at different ventures and different things, being a cooler myself for a time period. So you get to see this stuff because if you pay attention, you get to see the type of
You
people.
said that you was a cooler.
Mhm.
When you said cooler, carrying drinks or
Cooler
ah,
being the head of security, maintaining the strategies of a security team to making sure everything was tranquil to be the best you possibly can and keeping
but
the elements.
typically, don't they call dealers coolers when they actually come onto a table and they kick the crap out of everybody's ass?
I don't know. That's gaming. Remember,
Yeah,
y'all had a different
that's
world.
and that's what I was.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
came from a different
anytime there's a
atmosphere.
situation and the house says we need to get that money back, is
Yeah,
Adrian
that's what I
working
said.
today? Get him out of that pit from over on the other side and let's bring him over here and let's see if this person's going to hold on to him. Let's
Uh,
see. So they
yeah,
put me to tangle with a lot of beasts, including card counters.
yeah.
I remember one time that I was kicking the crap out of these people in the high limit pit, and this card counter was there. He came in, and it just saw the whole dynamics change.
Yeah.
The house was down now 20,000.
No, Laurel said her too. She was that too. I said I believe it. I
Yeah,
guess again, I guess is the concept to be able to cool down things.
yeah,
In my position as a cooler, my whole thing was to keep a certain calm, let everybody enjoy themselves, but make sure if any point in time it starts spiking, address it, handle it, so everybody else come down. So it was cool. So
yeah.
I can.
Because like I said, that's what we did as security.
Mhm.
For Tropicana, they had a certain group of guys. Myself included. And when something goes down, they actually dispatch these guys to that particular area.
Mhm.
You know, And so I remember this one guy that snatched, a lot of orange chips off for one of the games, and he just took off running. And man, you should see how many people were running after this dude, including myself. When we actually caught up with this guy, he had a freaking like a knife, long as OJ's knife. I'm like, holy Moses, where was he hiding that bad boy?
Hell yeah. Serious. I've seen a lot in my small tenure, and I say small tenure because in consideration to yours, I've seen a lot of weapons smuggled into casinos. I've seen big time drugs casinos, dead bodies that never get into the public awareness,
Never
people
will.
dying on property. I've seen a lot of shit. And then in the political process, being able to look at videos that the general population can't see, you would see the atrocious behavior that some people would have, whether in badge or against the badge. It's not a good thing. When people say, they come down and have a good time, I don't know. Some people out here come down and cause all kinds of chaos, is what it is. And hell, they don't
Yeah,
want to have a good time. They
I
cause
know
all
that's
kinds of
right.
chaos. And hell.
Even including the cops that have the cop convention. Those guys are something else, man. I'm telling you.
Mhm.
I remember when they had Playboy many years ago. This one cop, came from North Jersey. I think it was East Orange. Came out to Atlantic City, and he started pouncing on one of the local cops there. And they come to find out it was my friends. It was my friend this cop was out of town. Was pouncing on this friend of mine that I went to school with. But then the cop that he was actually beating up, this cop from North Jersey, East Orange, was beating up an Atlantic City cop. But Atlantic City cop's dad was a detective. So he had no idea that he was beating up on a detective's son. Because, the white cop, from North Jersey, East Orange, like, yeah, who do these guys think they are, and it gets out of hand.
Yeah. Laurel said they check in and check out literally. And that's the case. That's probably one of many situations I've heard when they have police conventions
Yeah.
because we're talking about hyperinflated egos
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
hyperinflated egos tend to always push that envelope and always have a level of expectation and entitlement like crazy.
Correct.
They feel they can do anything and they won't get nothing.
Because
Nothing happen
I
to them.
was dealing on a table, a few years ago, and this young kid was playing on the table. So I
Uh,
said, "Look, excuse me, I need to see your identification to make sure that you're old enough in order to gamble." The guy reaches inside his pocket and pulls out his police shield and throws it on the table for me. I said, "It's not acceptable." I said, "No." I said, "No, it's not acceptable. I need your identification." Then he actually goes back inside of there. He's like, "I don't have it with me." I said, "Sorry, you can't stay on the floor." And they
Damn
got
no.
security. We got him off of there.
Uh-huh. Alcohol, pride, and ego. Hell yeah. But you know what? Again, but you know what? In the I've learned that it's a culture that's taught and learned. Entitlement, aggressiveness, and bitter hatred is taught and learned. I used to joke around with one cat who was a police who turned into a police officer who did social work for a while. And I used to tell him, I said, when he was going in, I said, please be careful because they're going to try to convert your mind, the whole process. He's like, nah, this way and that way. 6 months after he got out of the whole process of becoming a police officer by going to the academy, he came and visited me. You know, it was good to see him, whatever the situation. He says, Mo, you was absolutely on point. I said, what you mean? He says, when I went in there, they immediately tried to change my frame of mind on how I look at things because I was taught always growing up poor that, you know, everyone deserves a chance to speak their mind, be proven guilty, what have you. No, these officers are being taught that everyone is guilty. It is their responsibility to prove that they're not guilty, but in your eyes as an officer, you're supposed to look at everyone as guilty. Everyone is guilty and everyone is a potential threat. And that right there causes an issue to someone who has issues within themselves, whether they're scared of people of color, they have been bullied as a youth, a young person, and all of a sudden want to be the biggest bully they possibly can on someone else, or just being overwhelming assholes, you know, and take that, and that hyperinflates egos, and it takes it places it shouldn't be. And you see it all the time. And this is not to say everyone, because there's a lot of good officers, man, a lot of beautiful people that were officers and they still defend it, and they don't deserve to get the type of backlash that most people get, you know what I mean? And they excel, they do well, and they appreciate it. But the ones that do, man, they make it bad for everyone.
Yeah, they do. They said the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Trust and believe.
Yep. Because there's a situation here in the city. You had one officer, seemed to be the one officer that had the most complaints about physical abuse, verbal abuse amongst everyone in the history of the police department. That same person seemed to be promoted on a regular basis from one level to the next to the next. Got canine cop, became a canine officer, got all kinds of complaints about the canine, lawsuits because the dog was sent out on situations that were inappropriate, wasn't called for, lost the lawsuits and what have you, and he was still promoted. And it's because he was part of a team or network of friends.
Correct.
That used to look out for one another. And it's terrible, man. It's terrible. But welcome to America.
That's it.
Yeah. But that was interesting, man. The live, and I was just sitting there laughing. Like I said, you break it up. There were people highlighting the fact that the guy who was videotaping says, "Yo, don't forget to grab the chips. Grab the chips."
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just because you're recording it doesn't mean that you're not being recorded from 50, 60.
But he started doing that, he started instigating another riot by itself. Mm-hmm. And he could, like it says, he can be arrested for that stuff also. You're telling everybody to grab the chips, grab a few of those chips, and you're recording, but people are hearing you say these things also. You know, you're not helping the situation.
Laurel was identifying who she thought I was talking about. I'm like, no, not that person. That person's an asshole too, but now somebody else.
When you showed her the video?
No, she's in the chat. You should be able to see her. She's in the chat right now.
I'm gonna minimize the screen. I can see it now.
Yeah, she's not able to converse verbally, her voice.
Correct, yeah.
So, but she's conversing with us. So she just mentioned how, you know, they're just assholes. I said, yeah, assholes are assholes. And if you give them a position of power, the assholes become even worse.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They become mega assholes.
Exactly. And then talking about the biggest asshole, Trump, you saw recently, they're seeing records that he actually, through his administration, send out mandates to get involved in the election process to create fraud where there was no fraud, to make issues that way. So it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But I still say the same thing.
It's an onion. Because, like it says, now the January 6th commission, they like to talk to his daughter. And this is where it's going to get real good. But at the same time in New York, Letitia James also would like to speak to his daughter, which is the Attorney General.
I'm waiting, the AG in that area, right? I'm waiting.
And it gets even better because down in Georgia, they would like to talk to them also. Because remember, he was reaching out in Georgia saying, try to find me those votes.
If Stacey Abrams gets in as the governor of Georgia, I would
He's
imagine
done.
that it's going to be a handful of situations because she'll empower the AG at that time to do this.
Exactly. That's the reason why he wants to put everybody else, to run for governor of and try to throw money to because he knows that she'll prosecute his ass big time.
Mm-hmm. Man, I just saw the recent discussion about that case with Trump, and I'm saying to myself, I don't think anything will happen because these Democrats don't do shit.
Well, they're going to have to do something because, like it says, they know that the midterm election, a lot of them are going to end up losing their seats. So they have to try to get something done as soon as possible, and they know this.
Mm-hmm.
They're running against the clock now.
Yep.
They've had all that time when Biden was elected until now. They had a lot of time on their hands.
Yep. And again, it's the same situation as we talked about this before, and people have forgotten. And I would say, society and the way politics and politics and how conniving ass people depend on you to have a short-term memory. You don't ever think about the fact that, remember, he had over 70 positions of judges that he had empowered to place people in position. Over 70 appellate courts, lower superior court positions in the federal judicial system that he had powers to place.
He was stacking the deck. That's what he was doing.
Yeah, but then you won't necessarily stack the deck in the Supreme Court Justice, the highest court.
Yeah. I can't see his logic.
It's the same old shit. But again, it just demonstrates how politics here is full of shit. These people really ain't working for the people; they're working for themselves, and they're all part of the same damn team. It seems like, you know what it reminds me of? It's the Harlem Globetrotters, and I think what's the other team that they play all they're constantly playing
the green team.
Ambassadors, huh?
I call them the green team.
Yeah, exactly. The ones they always play and always beat, right? I think they only won one time in the history of them playing together. They're part of the same organization, and their job is one is to lose to the other. It's the same situation. Democrats are always made to lose to Republicans, but they're all paid the same way. Laurel says, I thought Biden would have been a better president than he is. I'm like, he is what he is. He's definitely not. Look, I definitely knew he wasn't going to be a Barack, but I thought I'd see more of the Joe that I thought he would be. Like he'd open his mouth and say things.
No, you had two choices. Come on, let's be realistic. You had two choices.
More than that.
Well, when they narrowed everything down, it was the Democrats and the Republican. You have the devil and his brother. That's what it really boiled down to. Yeah. The devil and his brother.
Good way to put it.
Okay, Trump is the devil. The brother is Biden. Okay, so you have, all right. Come on, people. Let's not kid each other.
Yeah.
You had a choice between. We already experienced the devil for 4 years, and with January 6th, that happened after the election and stuff. But all of the craziness, like the stopping the mail, slowing down the mail, the stuff with Corona, the whole. Look, we dealt with the devil, so we decided to try his brother. That's all it really boils down to.
Yeah.
But now we're gonna have to try to find an alternative to the devil and his brother.
Very true, because in all honesty, no matter what, Biden is way better than Trump.
Yeah.
So that was a step up anyway.
Yeah, that's what it was. The devil and his brother.
Yeah.
That's it.
So now in this whole situation, like Morel said,
we chose the lesser of two evils. That's all it really was.
And that's why I can't stand this two-party business concept.
Yeah, I'm more. Look, there are 3 branches of government, but 2-party system. Go figure that one out. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. You have 3 branches of government, but you have 2-party system, and they rule. And one of them is like batshit crazy, and then the other one is like very lackadaisical. That's what they are, very lax.
Yeah, I'm seeing. Laurel had put on. She says Putin's about to start World War III. I could imagine. I think that may have been the strategy anyway. Because when Trump was in office, Putin would send military to the Arctic Circle to constantly encroach upon the barrier there. Because there was a shorter barrier between America and Russia at the Arctic Circle. It was really easy to do so. Well, so they would test each other to play games there, games.
It's war games.
Like Bangladesh and India does on their border. It's war games going on.
Yeah, that's
Biden is the one that would, in a minute, we'd be like, yo, you want to fight? Let's roll.
Because what
Biden
happened is when Biden actually pulled out of Afghanistan and how that actually collapsed, a lot of the other countries, the communist countries, looked at it and it says, hey, look
yeah,
what America has done. They've destroyed this country and the freaking Taliban took over.
yeah. That
China
may have
looked at
been.
it the same way because remember, the same thing Putin is doing on one side, China is doing on the other side with Taiwan.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so you have these two communist nations that actually teamed up, but they actually want to take over, this particular pieces of land that's closest to them.
Mm-hmm.
China wants it because a lot of the microchips are coming up out of Taiwan like crazy, and a lot of parts that they could actually use for those mega weapons that they need.
Yeah. Taiwan is in a real tough situation, but
Yeah, but look at what they did with Hong Kong also. Remember,
yeah,
Hong Kong was being run by the British before it was turned back over to China. And
well,
as soon as China took over, they cracked down on every damn thing.
right. They had that last treaty that just finished. I think it was last year. That was the last semblance of any kind of colonization from the Western side that gave China an opportunity to find. They want to stay. Hong Kong and Taiwan wanted to be independent nation states,
Correct.
city states. They have the opportunities and abilities to do so, but China wanted to encroach on both of them. Japan was working on Hong Kong, but Taiwan was definitely one that all of them wanted to do because Taiwan, Macau, being that one centralized drug kingpin, top world dollar, billions of dollars being spent all the time. That's the portion of the world that people love to play when they're playing dirty and playing with each other. But all that shit, the treaties, everything was involved in it. It's a trip how that plays on. And Biden is one. He's old school. He's like, I'm gonna draw a line in the sand. Here, push the stick off my shoulder type deal. So he still believes in this concept, the Cold War concept. The communists, the big bad guy, the communists. Man, please, I ain't worrying about no communists. I'm worrying about white supremacy here in America. You think I'm worrying about communism? Please.
Oh, it is what it is, my friend.
Yeah. So, bro, we're on the midnight hour. So,
At the precipice of the midnight hour.
Yes, we are. The juncture where now we're looking at a double number. This will be the only time this century right now, or this year, or this year, where you see 22s follow each other.
Well, if you look at it, it's 222.
Right. 2222022. Binary numbers. 10222202. That's internet 2. That's the second internet they're talking about. I think that's what they call it. 3.0. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, but that's beyond the measure. But before we close out, man, if there's anything that you'd like to say.
Yeah, Laurel, get well soon. We need you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We love you, we need you, and we love to see you. No doubt. That was the fly outfit that you had on.
There we go. She said, yeah. All right, I ain't gonna say how fly you are. You know how fly you are.
Yeah, she fly, girl.
Just get better.
And congratulations on that promotion also.
Make that money. Get me a job.
Yeah. So when that fight goes down the next time, we would like to see you in the video. Thank you very much.
That's right. I may not see no video with you whipping on somebody. That stress many years will come out. Remember that time when I was 7 years old and you pushed me off my bike? What? Where did that come from?
So have yourself a blessed weekend and be safe. You know, the numbers are going back up, it's going back down, it's going back up again, and we're going to end up having a fourth shot. You say it all that in a nutshell.
Yep.
Well, your turn.
Yep. Like you said, the COVID-19 it seems to be hitting around that corner. Hopefully, we'll see a good turn, and America can feel free to breathe without having to worry about COVID-19. But the reality still falls in our hands whether we're going to do what we need to do. So this monster, these cooties that everybody seems to be getting, finds its way out of the world and the atmosphere. Do what you can. Pay attention to your people around you. And don't assume that one person COVID-19 is the same person as COVID-19 someone else. Yes, and I meant to say this. My condolences to you. Your loss.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. I just saw there. My condolences also, yeah.
Yeah. Not only
family,
you lost a few members of your family. My heart's with you. Losing a mom is something that's very tragic. But she sits in the kingdom of God with the ancestors smiling down upon everyone.
Yeah, no doubt. It said to be absent in the body, and the body is to be present with the Lord. You know, so that's what it is.
Absolutely. But again, let's pay attention. Don't play it light. The symptoms that you may have may not necessarily be the same symptoms someone else. Funeral home did know my status. Wow, that's hard. Ashes to ashes. Yeah. Um, like we're going through situations right now where people testing is funny, and I said this before. Some people are testing as if they have it, but never show any kind of signs, never
Mhm.
have any symptoms or nothing. That potentially could be a very dangerous individual because that person who does have COVID 19 could pass it along in their stupor to someone who will not survive the COVID 19. So let's not be the carrier of death. Let's be more cognizant of how we affect everyone. By chance, you or your family members had COVID 19, stay your ass home. Do what you can to protect yourself. And I'll say this, even my home was hit with COVID 19. And after testing, we come to find out that my son and I did not have COVID 19. My wife seemed to have been found to have COVID 19. Testing suggests something different. Whatever it is, it's nothing to play with. We still move to be respectful. We still being very responsible to the people that we love because whatever we have could carry on to someone. And it's not just COVID 19, folks. Don't forget, this is the flu season. You have the flu, you can mess with somebody else whose uh, cardiovascular system is not ready, and it can kill them. You know, you had other issues and other diseases. Ebola carries around. You had HIV/AIDS for the people who are reckless. You know, whether intravenous drug users or living a lifestyle that could be reckless. Whatever it is, your actions could potentially hurt or harm someone else. Do what you can to be less reckless in the world. Don't harm. If you can't make things better, don't harm anybody. All right. So as we move forward, stay blessed. Thank you for spending some time with us. Hopefully, you've gotten informed about something if there's something new to you, like possibly Tonga. Remember, keep Tonga in your mind because the island of Tonga went through a lot of struggles because of this volcano. And hopefully, if you have a chance to send some support to them because this is a poor nation anyway. So any kind of support probably could do a whole lot more with them for them than it does here. Um, and then continue to pay attention to the weather as we move on because during the cold times, people who suffer regular illnesses, it becomes even harder for them. Just like asthmatics suffer through the summer, during this time, people catch pneumonia, and pneumonia has taken a lot of people out.
Yeah.
So be very conscious of how your health is. Take better care of yourselves. Do what you can to keep washing your hands. Keep your nasty little hands to yourselves and stop touching yourselves and touching everybody else in weird orifices and stuff like that. And keep smiling. And my last suggestion of the night is do what you can to spread joy. Do what you can to make someone smile. Times are tough. The pandemic has been hard. And to give you a small scenario of what I just recently experienced at a local supermarket with some young people who seemed to be complacent, had no consideration of any human being, my suggestion to their manager was look into what's going on with them to find out if there's something that they're struggling with. And if there's something that you can help them with, please do so. But if there's nothing that you can help them, someone else, try to find some help for them because you never know what kind of burden people are carrying in their hearts. And it shows in how they interact with others. So if you are good, be great. If your life is blessed, be a blessing to others. It goes around. And then when it comes back around, it'll be 10 times stronger. So
Right.
I'm wishing you the best. I hope that a smile will find your face and your heart get filled with joy. Let every night be filled with a warm meal, wrapping arms around you, a sense of oneness and unity in your family, sense of acknowledgement of being a wonderful human being because you are. You have the potential of being an even more wonderful person if you can help bring joy into someone's life, even if it's just a dirty joke. At least that moment, at least for that moment, it can be that moment of sunshine that that person needs during a tough time. As Laurel says, stay warm, baby. It's cold outside. Yes, it is. So I'm signing out. Thank you again for this week. Remember, you are welcome to come and visit us at the website, as my man Adrian has done such a gallant job of always monitoring and taking care of it. Go over to www.thenewnorm.club and check out our archived information. We have voter registration information there. We have COVID, of course, COVID information and links that you can go there. You can go to our cyber mall to get a lot of information there. Also, products and people and services that have come on and expressed their intent to bless the world with their excellence. And also, go check out the world famous. This is where we have the air horn radio station that my man Adrian has. There's links to this radio station so you can hear wonderful music coming from around the
Yeah, I be
world with
jamming
world
to
class
that,
DJs. Again, and we have world class music, world class DJs, all archived and managed by my man Adrian, who is also the godfather of our website and
It's only
everything.
gonna get better in 22, my brother. It's only
Exactly,
gonna get better in 22. That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna step
doubling
that
up.
game up major.
That's it, doubling up the blessings. You heard that. So check it out, newnorm.club. And again, thank you again for spending your time. And if you're just new to the website or if you're new to the show, come on down. If you'd like to spend some time to speak about an issue or concern that you have, or just to laugh with us the way we sometimes do about the silliest things. The pandemic is hard and it's been hard on many of us. Doesn't have to be, you don't have to be alone in doing so. And that's what we're trying to be. Not only a conduit of good information, but comrades and try to give you some sort of attention and help as we go through, because times are tough, but life ain't got to be tough to you. We're here for you.
Right.
We love you. Thank you again. This is the new norm. I'm your boy Mo Delgado, and still the sexiest man in this chair.
Yeah, in that chair.
This
Put that
chair.
out here.
This chair. You can't debate it. This chair. And for this chair, this
That's
sexy
not
guy here.
that's
Wait,
ah,
wait. I'm waiting for you to try to
peace.
debate this. You can't debate this.
Peace. Deuces.
Take care of yourselves until next time. God bless you all, and be
Take
blessed
care.
and be a
All
blessing.
righty.
All right. Take care, y'all.